No. Oh, you're on mute.
Hello,
Hello.
Doug. Can you hear us?
I can, I can.
Okay.
Thank you.
I wish I was there.
So what are you drinking? I've got hot lemon water.
Oh, I've got licorice tea with honey.
Oh, licorice tea. I love licorice tea.
Yeah.
Funny thing is I just finished having a little, I guess a little tiny mint that's anise, which is licorice.
Oh, okay.
It's so delicious.
Yeah. So, okay. Dad, husband, legend.
Delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Are there any late items? No, no late items. So I will move that the February 24th, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. We do have one delegation on today's agenda from Broombusters Invasive Plant Society regarding how and why to remove flammable Scotch broom from Ucluelet. Joanne Sales, Executive Director, will be presenting via Zoom.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon to you, Mayor McLuhan and Council, and thank you for letting me speak. My name is Joanne Sales. I'm Executive Director of Broombusters Invasive Plant Society. Our mission is to explain why and how to control Scotch broom and to help communities and local governments to do so. This is Broombusters' 20th anniversary, and in the past 20 years, we have documented that volunteers have cut broom 75,000 hours, mostly on Vancouver Island. I'm going to cover a lot of material very quickly, but I will send a PDF of this presentation to council members or anyone else who requests it. So what's the big deal about Scotch broom?
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
I am not sharing.
Oh,
It's
you're not sharing. Okay,
No,
go
why
ahead
am I
then.
not sharing? Okay, let's try again. Here we go. Share. Okay. Okay, Scotch broom is an alien invasive plant. It spreads rapidly, forms dense thickets, crowds out native plants, prevents forest regrowth, toxic to grazing animals and wildlife, takes over farms, cleared forest and parkland, leads to a dramatic loss of biodiversity, but worst of all, it's flammable. Scotch broom is a volatile flash fuel. It'll increase a wildfire's fuel load, escalate the fire's intensity, compromise fire situations, and make fires more difficult to fight. Why is this? High oil content creates an easy ignition source. Massive amounts of dry vegetation increase fuel load. Grows 9 feet tall, it's a ladder fuel. Forms dense, widespread thickets and fuel continuity, and grows everywhere, contributing to the possibility of urban interface fires. I want to start by going south 1,500 kilometers to Santa Rosa, California, and surrounding counties. During a span of more than 23 days in October 2017, this wildfire consumed 36,807 acres, destroyed 5,643 homes and buildings, and took 22 lives. My now son-in-law was in that fire. He was asleep at midnight when the firefighter pounded on the door and shouted, "You have minutes, get out." Rob rushed off the farm property in his pajamas and the house burned to ashes. He was living in his truck when we met him. When Rob first came to Vancouver Island, it was broom blooming season, and he learned what Scotch broom was. That is Scotch broom. That was the plant that covered the fields where I lived in Santa Rosa. I didn't know it was flammable. No wonder it burned so quickly. I personally visited Santa Rosa after the fire and saw the devastation, but that's not what got my attention. Santa Rosa is rebuilding, and to prevent another catastrophic fire, their top priority is eliminate Scotch broom. This ordinance explicitly names Scotch broom as a non-native hazardous vegetation that must be removed if it's within 30 feet of a public right-of-way, 100 feet of a structure, or 30 feet of a property line. The surrounding counties, Sonoma County, have similar ordinances. They know what a wildfire can do. So reality check, those ordinances will not pass here. Timing and budgets will not allow. But what can we do? Understand the plant, know how to eliminate it, join with others, and do it. Some more things you need to know about Scotch broom. It's the top offender of biodiversity in BC. This chart here shows that the 20 worst invasive plants and animals in BC, the top line is Scotch broom. It is the invasive species causing the greatest harm to species at risk in BC. It's also a global problem. These are mountains in New Zealand. Broom and gorse have replaced the forest. Shouldn't we stop the spread of broom before this happens in BC? Scotch broom is especially difficult to control on steep banks, beaches, and islands. The good news about Ucluelet, this is an environmentally conscious community, and broom came later to the West Coast, so it could become broom-free. The bad news about Ucluelet is there's multiple jurisdictions, only one road in and out of the community, and broom is now on the Wild Pacific Trail. Broom has taken hold at Tofino Airport and along Pacific Rim Highway, Highway 4. But proactive positive steps are taken by Ucluelet Parks. And in 2024, Redfish with Broombusters held a broom cut in Tofino as their West Coast Triple Plank Restoration Project. 50 volunteers showed up in the pouring rain. So that's possible. So let's do it again and again. All we need is an area organizer. So, 20 years of cutting broom, what have we learned? First of all, cut broom in bloom. Cut level with the ground or below with loppers. If you cut too high, the plant regrows. So find the single stalk and cut it. Leave no stem above the ground, not even 1/2 inch. Broom spreads by seeds, not by roots or pieces of plant, but it makes 18,000 seeds per plant that can survive up to 70 years. But seeds only sprout in the sun. So grass and ground cover will shade the trees and prevent them, shade the seeds and prevent them from sprouting. So don't dig or pull mature broom because pulling disturbs the soil. Then dormant seeds are exposed to light and sprout. And you get rid of one plant and you get 50 more. Pulling does more harm than good. But the broom root will die in the ground, harmless. Can you pull small broom? Yes. Pull a broom that is smaller than a pencil, cut broom that is bigger than a pencil. The picture there where you see how dense the broom is, that's what happens when somebody had disturbed the soil. It grows really, really dense like that, and it's not fun to have. So why cut in the spring? The roots are their weakest when the energy of the plant is above the ground, forming flowers. So the cut is then followed by the dry heat of summer and the root will die. So cut in bloom or just before, and stop cutting when the seed pods form because we don't want to spread more seeds. And big broom dies easily. You never have to pull it out. So don't try to cut it with your loppers, use a saw, but then you can just peel the bark back like a banana and it will die in the summer's heat. Sometimes they're really messy stalks. Try to find the base when it goes into the ground. But if you can't find that, just get a hatchet and mangle it. Make it miserable. The summer sun will dry it out. Mowing doesn't kill broom. Broom will grow back if cut by any electric tool that leaves a stem above the ground. So here's a major problem on the island. Broom on the power lines greatly increases the danger that fire could spread across the island. Most of Vancouver Island is connected by power lines that are largely covered with flammable broom. So broom on power lines spreads seeds, blocks escape routes, and endangers our power infrastructure. In 2023, recognizing this danger, AVICC and UBCM passed Control of Scotch Broom, a resolution calling for, among other things, fire breaks on long stretches of broom. Sadly, no action has taken place about these dangers yet. At the moment, controlling this flammable plant where you live is up to you and your friends. There is nobody else. So broom busting is fun and it works. I'm just quickly going to show some of the other 14 municipalities that take part in this broom busting project. Alberni Highway, Alberni Valley, Campbell River, and Highway 19. And no, I did not pay these people to smile. Broom busting is fun. Comox Valley, Comox Valley Regional District, Coquitlam, Powell River, Parksville, Qualicum Beach, and area. And there's a list of all the groups, and there's always more, and there's small communities too that I'm not listing here. So what can Ucluelet do? Okay, continue the initiatives by the Parks Department, pass a bylaw like 6 other municipalities have done since they started working with broom busters, educate the public about the fire hazard of broom and how to control it, encourage landowners to clear broom on private property, reduce disposal fees and make it easier to dispose at landfill. And what's needed is we need to find 1 or 2 community organizers or groups to set up cutting events. Inside the district boundaries, the way Broom Busters works is the district or municipality will remove the piles. Outside the district boundaries will chip in place. The ACRD strongly supports Broom Busters, so Broom Busters can help. That's what we do. This picture is just for fun. I had to share it because it was way too perfect. Local volunteers took this picture. So broom busting makes us safer, builds community, and restores hope, which we definitely need. So let's cut the bloomin' broom. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Joanne. Any questions from council? Councillor Hoare?
I'm not sure that the question goes to you, Joanne, but do we have a system to deal with invasives that come to the landfill? Because you don't want the even chipped up broom to end up being part of the composting system, for instance, and then all those seeds end up being distributed.
Okay, that's a very important question. And it's misunderstood very many places. Broom branches and roots are harmless unless they have seeds on them. Okay, so the chips, when we say we chip on the side of the road, is absolutely harmless and it composts back into the earth. Some plants, like ivy and Japanese knotweed, all it takes is a fragment of the plant to start it again, but that is not true about Scotch broom. So we cut it until the seed pods form, and then we stop cutting. Okay, we just stop. So anything that people will be taking to the landfill won't have seeds in them. It would be harmless.
Awesome. Thank you. I will, my little follow-up comment, there's a property just around the corner from where I live that had the broom cut in bloom, and that broom hasn't been back in the last 2 years. So it really does work. And as somebody who's actually allergic to broom, I cut it all the time while it's blooming.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. Harding, do you know if we have a bylaw about broom? Yeah, I don't think we do. Oh, no. Mr. Brown says no. That might be something to look at. Councillor Anderson?
Oh, I thought that we had various pickups, I think, right? When we cut the broom, it gets picked up. There's a time when that gets advertised. So we do have that.
Yes. Yep.
Can we blame the Scottish for this? Did they bring this over?
Is it?
Don't you start that.
Get them to pay for it. Pay for it. My question, I guess, would be, Joanne, thanks for your presentation. I was just going to ask if have you seen other bylaws in other municipalities, and what do those look like?
Yes, like I said, 6 municipalities have passed bylaws since they started. Parksville, Qualicum Beach, Lanceville. Actually, Nanaimo had a bylaw, but they didn't know they had a bylaw, so they reactivated it. I'm missing, Port Alberni. So the way that works then is it's not like you deluge every property, the bylaws officers with every property, but pick out a few of the ones at each year and, make a bylaw complaint, and then they issue it to the landowner. Sometimes the broom busters actually help, and certainly we help with education and so on about how to remove it. So Qualicum Beach had giant broom that we had to remove with a chainsaw, and it has practically no broom there at all anymore. Occasionally some seeds will come up. And the same thing with Parksville. So where broom busters are at work, where volunteers are cutting broom, it does disappear.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your presentation. And yeah, we'll see you again next year.
Thank you.
Is there any unfinished business? Seeing none, there are two bylaw items on the agenda today. The first bylaw is titled Zoning Amendment for 604 Rainforest Drive, and it will be presented by Tyler Brown, Director of Planning and Strategic Initiatives. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and Council. The first item on your agenda from planning is with respect to a zoning amendment proposal for 604 Rainforest Drive. The proposal, this is the property that many in town, and from the open house last night, I learned that many are very familiar with the failed concrete pour at 604 Rainforest Drive. The property owner has come in seeking a change in the zoning to create a total of 12 units, 6 of them, which would be long-term residential units, and 6 of them smaller units, which would be short-term rental units. This would be accommodated in a 3-bedroom or a 3-story building. The applicant has provided, and you'll notice it in the agenda package, a site plan that sort of demonstrates that a building and the associated parking could be accommodated on site. I will note the development proponent, if this zoning did change, could very much go on to build this proposal, but we are talking about rezoning, and that is just in your agenda package to show you that such an arrangement or a configuration could be accommodated. If this was granted first and second reading tonight, the proposal would need to go to public hearing, as 50% of it is for short-term rental use, or 50% of the units are for short-term rental use, and it would not be considered under the recent provincial amendments that prohibit a public hearing. I will note that the proposal would replace all the previous zoning permissions around the health center and would remove those from the zone. So it wouldn't be additive in that sense, it would replace them. And if council does wish to advance this and adopt it, we would recommend removing the covenant that was associated and put on title at the time, just as a housekeeping item, so there's no future complications when the goes to construction. But like I said, this is for first and second reading, and if council does grant it first and second reading, we would host a public hearing, likely in March, where the public would have opportunity to provide their views on the proposal to council.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So in the agenda package, it says the ground floor would be for the short-term rental units, and then the 2 floors above would be for the long-term tenants, correct?
Thank you, Mayor. That is what's been shown as a concept plan. Different, depending on the zoning would allow for that. There could also be other configurations that would be that could be considered through the development permit process. So that's why I'm always a little hesitant to include concept plans, because they can build an expectation. It is useful for showing viability of a project, but there could be some changes through that in the DP process.
Okay, thank you. And it also says that the applicant is working with the fire department to make sure fire trucks can maneuver in that area.
Absolutely, and that would be resolved through the development permit process to make sure that we're not issuing anything that is problematic from a fire safety perspective.
Great. And I assume because it was a bad concrete pour that whatever exists now has to be removed?
In all likelihood, yes. Yeah.
Questions from council? Councillor Anderson?
No, I was just going to say, I think I've read it over, and I think it makes sense just to get these read and then move into the public input next step. That makes sense.
The public hearing, yeah, for sure. Okay, seeing no other questions, there are 4 recommendations,
I can do those.
and they should be read separately.
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
I'll move that District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1398, 2026 be read a first time.
I'll second.
Okay, Councillor Hoare beat you to it just by a second.
Okay, no worries.
I'll let you do the rest, Mark.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
I'll also move the District of Euclid zoning amendment bylaw number 1398, 2026 be read a second time.
I'll second.
Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed? That carries.
I will continue to move that council direct staff to give notice for a public hearing to be held on District of Euclid zoning amendment bylaw number 1398, 2026.
I will second.
Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That carries.
Lastly, I will move the council authorize the removal of CB 283129, a section 219 covenant associated with previous development proposal from the property title.
I'll second.
Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion?
I'm not clear why this has to happen now. It seems to me to be paving the way to rezone the property. Why is it important or relevant that this covenant be removed at this point before the public hearing?
Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Your Worship. The intention here is it wouldn't be actioned unless the approval of the zoning is adopted.
So could we save it for a later date?
Could save it for a later date, or if for council's comfort, could amend the motion to make it contingent upon approval of the zoning bylaw.
Personally, I'd prefer it. I kind of understand from a housekeeping perspective, but I suppose that, you know, my own personal feelings about this lot are that the story sort of changed, and that's why we're here, and that's why this is before us. And so it just seems, you know, we're putting the cart before the horse to start removing covenants and changing what is even going to be discussed at the public hearing. If we approve this, if we second this now, it's not going to come up again. Or if now that it's been seconded, if we vote on this now and council votes in favor, then the covenant's removed regardless of what happens moving forward. And to my mind, that's not appropriate at this time. And so if there's no specific reason why you feel that it is, then I would vote against it on that rationale. And I just wanted to make those comments in case it might influence any other votes.
Mr. Brown?
Council's prerogative. Ultimately, it is associated with the development proposal we know can't proceed. So whether it's authorized to remove at this time or before adoption, essentially we're trying to just make sure that if the zoning is adopted, the applicant isn't having to come in for another covenant amendment and before council. So just administratively cleaner. The third option is council could simply defer this matter to the time in which third reading is granted, and then council wouldn't be giving approval until third reading.
And just to be clear, this covenant had to do with the fact that it was going to be a medical clinic,
Is correct.
which we know it's not going to be.
Correct.
Any other comments, Councillor Mafty?
No. So just to be clear, can we amend this now?
I think we can vote on it. It's been moved and seconded.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm clear on that.
Contingent on being amended.
I think it's pretty clear that it's just housekeeping. Mr. Harding, how do you feel about that?
So as Councillor Mafty had mentioned, Your Worship, if you want to amend the motion, someone have to move a friendly amendment, and it'd have to be seconded. If you wanted to do as Mr. Brown says, is bring it back at the time of final reading, or council can not do the friendly amendment and go ahead and vote on the main motion.
Okay, well, we're pretty sure this is not going to be a medical clinic because it's been built somewhere else. So I don't see why we can't just remove this particular covenant, personally.
Well, just to interrupt, I don't think there is a specific reason why we can't, but I'm arguing that we shouldn't, because by so doing, council is taking it upon itself to change the zoning of a piece of property prior to a public hearing that is ostensibly to get input from the public on what we should do with this piece of property. So even though it might be a small or tangential decision, I don't think that it makes sense to say, hey, we're going to have a public hearing to hear what the public wants to do. But before we hear from them, we're going to go ahead and change the zoning anyway.
But we're just removing a covenant that says it's going to be a medical clinic, which it never
Yeah,
will
but that's
be.
part of the zoning, right? Like that covenant was put in place for a reason. It wasn't arbitrary, and it's not a covenant that comes with a certain, like it's not a standard zoning. It's something that was very specifically tied to that parcel, to that piece of land for that project. So if this wasn't going to public hearing and council was going to decide all of this anyway, then I suppose we could decide it now. But it just seems like there's a bit of hypocrisy in saying, hey, we're going to put this up to a public hearing, but before we do, we're going to start fiddling with it ourselves.
What
Anyway,
does
I'm not
council
trying to
want
argue. If it
do?
goes to a vote, I'll vote against it. So maybe that's
Okay, I really can't see the harm in voting on it.
I also can't see the harm in just adding the amendment that it would be removed once.
The public hearing is over.
Yeah.
Did you want to make that friendly amendment?
I didn't move the original one, so.
I can do that again.
Okay, Councillor Anderson?
Do we have to vote or kill that last one, or we haven't voted, so does it matter? Yeah.
If some council want to make an amendment, you can make it now. Then we'll be vote on the amendment first. If the amendment goes through, then, if it's voted down the amendment, then we go back to the original motion.
Okay, so I can just read this again with the amended part. All right, make it up as I go. Okay, I will alternatively move that council authorize the removal of CB 283129, a section 219 covenant associated with a previous development proposal from the property title contingent on the amended zoning bylaw.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. So we don't need to go back to the first.
No, only go back if the amendment
it's
was
was
vetoed.
defeated.
Yeah.
All right. The second bylaw item is titled Zoning Amendment for 1671 Cedar Road, and it will also be presented by Tyler Brown, Director of Planning and Strategic Initiatives.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposal before you is one that you'll be familiar with, as we brought forward a report to introduce the concept to council on February 10th. Materially, nothing has really changed from that report. So the proposal before you is for 1671 Cedar Road, or Phase 2 of Whiskey Landing. As that report outlined, there has been a zoning disagreement with respect to interpretation of some of the definitions in the zoning bylaw. The proposed path moving forward would be to set a cap of 23 units on the portion of the parcel that would be Phase 2, and the amendment would allow to resolve the discrepancy, would allow the units to be either used for long-term residential use or commercial tourist accommodation. If council does grant first and second reading to the bylaw tonight, this, due to the nature of the proposal, it would go to public hearing before consideration of third reading, and follow the notification process that would allow any interested member of the public to provide input to council. The report outlines the policy context and some of the history there. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and I do know there's an agent from on behalf of the proponent that is also here if council has questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I think we're fairly familiar with this since it was just at our last meeting. Any questions for Mr. Brown? Any questions for the proponent who's in the audience? Seeing none, there are 3 recommendations that should be read separately.
I'm just having trouble.
Councillor Anderson,
Yeah, no worries. What's up on that? I'll move that District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1401, 2026 be read for a first time.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
I'll further move that District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1401, 2026 be read a second time.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
I will lastly move that council direct staff to give notice for a public hearing to be held on District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1401, 2026.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries as well. All right, there are 4 reports on the agenda. The first report is titled Budget Amendment, verbal presentation by Jeffrey Cadman, Director of Finance.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just share my screen. Okay, perfect. So on January 26th, the budget was presented. There was also the budget open house. We received quite good feedback from both council and the community. There was 2 additional things that were brought forward by council to add, which is what this presentation is about. So based on today, this is the revised budget. If we get approval from council, we'll come back on March 10th with the 5-year financial plan bylaw. And then the adoption would happen at the end of March. There was also a request from council to come back and look at the allocation between different tax groups, majorly between class 6, which is business, and class 1, which is residential. That makes sense to come back in April once we get the revised rule, just in case that changes. So that'll come back in April. We'll look to move forward with the budget and then do property taxes later. So these are the 2 amendments that were brought forward by council. The first was the conservation officer. This is the one that will have a property tax impact of $56,000, which is 0.9% of the global increase. And then the peninsula upgrades, which are in front of the school, which was brought forward by council. So we have deferred revenue from the Modi grant along Penn Road there. So we would be looking to use those funds to do that upgrade. So there'd be no property tax implication. So it's really just the conservation officer that would have a property tax implication, which are in the, what that impact means for the different classes are in the following slides. So this is what the proposed tax changes look like if we keep the current allocation as is. Essentially, it goes up by 0.91%. The total increase goes from 4.58% to 5.49%. So just shy of a 1% increase for the conservation officer. And what that means for the different classes. So on a class 1 residential, the increase goes from 3.89% for existing residential property tax owners, residential tax, and then 4.8 for the existing residential owners. It's about $21 per existing property. Obviously, some will be higher and some will be lower depending on the value of the property. For the mixed use class, which was another big class, so they're originally experiencing a 4.5% tax decrease. That's the large part because of the decrease in their class 6 value. If we go ahead, it'll go to a 3.84% tax decrease and around $43 increase per existing property for the conservation officer. For class 6, which is exclusively business, that's your pure business class, it's around $66 per existing property, and it goes from a 5.5% increase to a 6.5% increase. And then this is the compiled summary reflecting the additional 300 grand from the reserves increase as we use the deferred revenue, and then the expense would go up for the work in front of the school. And then this, the conservation officer is reflected. So that's just the compiled summary of what the total budget would look like. And these are the proposed motions. So if council would like to go ahead with the updated, one of those motions, the new motion is to prepare the 5-year financial plan as per the budget, which was presented the January 26th. And the following one is to present the 5-year financial plan as amended, which is presented today. Any questions from council, I'll happily answer.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Cadman. So the surplus that was left over from the Modi budget for Peninsula, we're okay to use that even though we're doing Peninsula past Main Street, which is no longer Highway 4?
Mr. Harding and I have had some discussions about this. The nice thing about the fact that we have the money in hand is it likely gives us more flexibility. It's always easier to use funds that you have than to request new funds. So we will be engaging with Modi to ensure that we can do this, but we think we have a good shot.
Okay, great. Because that has zero implication for tax dollars.
Correct.
As it sits right now, if they let us do that.
Correct.
And then I recently signed a couple of letters, one to FINO and one to ACRD to help with the conservation officer salary. So what happens if those two entities agree to help with that? Ms. Fortune?
Yeah, through the mayor, I can answer that one. So what's being proposed is a 4-month process, and what can be shared is things like the vehicles can be shared, but the 37, Jeff?
Yeah,
40, the 40,000 that is being proposed for each community is for a 4-month period. What the conservation officers have suggested is that if we stack it on either side, then you'll get the 12 months and more likelihood of being able to find someone to be in that position, but each individual groups will have to pay for their section. It's not something that can be spread out.
And it would still be just one person servicing the whole region?
That's correct, yes.
Right. Questions from council? Comments? Councillor Anderson?
Yeah, I look forward to the discussion about business later on because I know businesses got hammered. It kind of talk sounds like it's an election year when you say things like that, doesn't it? My one thing that I was curious about is I looked at the class 1 and class 6 and when you say mixed use, that's same as split class?
That's correct.
Same thing, right? It's interesting because I noticed that class 1 there's a residential and business both went up by increases, but then split class goes down a little bit. How does that I'm just trying to get my head around that one.
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about it a bit at the last meeting. It's all about how the valuations affect. So when property taxes go up, you look at the proportion of their valuation. And so for the overall this year, for the mixed use, a lot of the split class, a lot of their commercial values decreased. And because commercial properties pay a higher proportion of property taxes, because their residential went up a bit, but the value of their commercial went down, they're paying less taxes this year.
Right. It's a good answer. I like that.
Thank you.
I actually understood it. That's pretty well. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? Seeing none, there are two options. One to find the motions here. One to prepare the 5-year financial plan according to the January 26th budget meeting, or the second one to prepare it with these two amendments.
I got this one.
Okay, Councillor Hoare.
And I'm going to do the second one because I do believe we need a conservation officer. We've
Absolutely.
had too many bears put down in the last year. I will move that council directs staff to prepare the 5-year financial plan bylaw as per the amended budget presented at the February 24th budget meeting.
I'll second.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed. That carries. Great. Look forward to having someone take care of our bears. Thank you, Mr. Cadman. The next report is titled Local Government Development Approval Program Application, and it will be presented by Mr. Brown, Director of Planning and Strategic Initiatives.
Thank you, Mayor. UBCM for several years now has had a funding program for local governments to apply for and access funds that can help fund a series of projects with the intention of updating bylaw or updating processes, streamlining processes, and trying to find ways to improve the effective delivery of development approvals within the associated community. There's been council direction on a few items, with one of them the subdivision control bylaw, and the other one the tsunami risk interim policy, that we believe would be elements of reviewing those the one bylaw and the one policy would be able to access some of the funds to help pay for that review. In addition, there's some other ones which be a little more typical for this program with respect to reviewing internal processes, reviewing external processes for development reviews, creating standardized templates, and in our opinion, one that would build off those is also strengthening the First Nation referral process. And through the years, that has sort of ebbed and flowed, and there's been different approaches, and it would be time. It's time with some staffing changes there as well to kind of rekindle those relationships and make sure that the process is working for everybody. The project would be 100% funded through grants, with the exception, there's a kind of a interesting little exemption within the program that the funds can't be used for supporting any bylaw approval processes. So if we did need to rely on some consultant support for that, that goes beyond staff capacity, it would be quite a minor cost that we could absorb within the existing budget. Happy to answer any questions, but we do need council's endorsement if they wish for us to apply for this program. And the projects identified, especially those two, that the subdivision control bylaw and the tsunami risk tolerance interim policy, this would really help us add the capacity to expedite the review of those and get something in front of council. So we're happy to answer any questions, and we're optimistic that if we did submit, we would receive these funds, and they would build off of a lot of the council's recent work and direction around modernizing and refreshing the regulatory regime in Ucluelet.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. It's a great report. I see that this is the third intake, but it's our first application for this grant.
That is correct.
So that's why you think we have a good chance to get it.
For a couple of reasons. That is one reason. The second reason is I think we have a lot of work that has already been underway that we can showcase, that a lot of effort has already been made. Council direction has already been provided, and this would sort of help us level up on those remaining items to kind of complete the package.
That's great. I'm really happy to see that a review of the tsunami risk tolerance interim policy is part of this, because I can think of two developments that have really been hamstrung by this policy. So that would be that. I think that's really great to have that as part of this. And what was my other question? The deadline for this is coming up fairly quickly, March 13th, correct?
Yes, I believe that is correct. And if council provided the authorization tonight, we're very confident we would have a full and complete application ready to submit.
Thank you. Questions, comments from council? Councillor Hoare?
It's always nice to be able to get some stuff done and get grant money to do it instead of having to go to property taxes, just saying. And yeah, I agree, the interim flood risk policy has been a bit of an issue, so it'd be nice to get some of this dealt with. If no one else has comment, I'm happy to move, but I think I can get it big enough.
Make a quick one.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor Anderson.
It's just a comment. I was gonna say thank you for doing this. This is exactly in line with the bylaw updates that you've been working on, and with urban systems and Nancy Henderson and the team, and it's been outstanding. Like I've been on council for this whole term, and it really was something we had to do, and getting this done, it's a huge deal, and to get the tsunami part in here, and subdivision. I think those were just so far behind the times. So to bring those up to speed, I think this kind of sets us up for success in the future. So just thank you for doing this.
And I just had a quick comment. I didn't realize that our tsunami risk tolerance was an interim policy. How did that come about? Before your time, I know, but
That's a great question. So, at the time that it was adopted, the province had been doing quite a bit of work with respect to coastal flooding, coastal risks, and they had indicated very, very strongly that there would be provincial guidance on developing new bylaws and new regulations with respect to places that are prone to significant flooding risk or significant tsunami risk. Going back, the intention of the interim policy was essentially to put something in place and await that provincial guidance on what comes next. Unfortunately, the province has never followed up or followed through on those next steps and those guidance for local governments in that regard. They're doing a scan of that environment. It doesn't appear that there is any guidance coming on the horizon, and of course everybody's familiar with the recent capacity constraints and potential workforce adjustments at the province. So it's probably a good time to revisit that, to review it more fully, and use the information that is at hand and the regulatory tools that we know are longstanding and possible to convert that policy once the review is complete into a floodplain bylaw.
thank you. We're going back about 5 years, I think, when this came into effect. And we were told at the time that the province was making it mandatory for all municipalities to do this, which is why we went ahead and did it. But it sounds like that really was never the case.
I want to be careful not to speak with a certain authority to something I don't know definitively, but my understanding is it was a question mark on where the province was ultimately going to go. Often when there's a potential regulatory change or the province is doing work in sort of the environmental sphere, they provide a lot of guidance. But to my knowledge, there wasn't anything that was going to be a legislated requirement.
Interesting. Any other questions or comments from council?
Mayor, I will just add though, Mayor, that, Tofino has proceeded from they had an interim policy, I believe, too, at one point, and they've proceeded to an actual bylaw, or they may have gone straight to a bylaw. So there are communities that have gone ahead and proceeded along with it.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. So I believe there is just one recommendation, if anyone would like to move that.
I will move that council support an application.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Go. I'll second it.
Okay.
I haven't even said it yet, Mark. I will move that council support an application to the 2026 UBCM Local Government Development Approvals Program with a maximum project value of $200,000 and willingness to provide overall grant management to continue to improve and streamline the development application process.
I will second.
Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed. That carries. Awesome. Thank you for your report. The next report is titled 2026 Grants in Aid and In-Kind Contributions Award, and it will be presented by Abby Fortune, Director of Community Services.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Before you ever...
Can I just interrupt? I realize that this is kind of a formality in a way because the amounts have already been entered, but I'm just gonna recuse myself out of an abundance of caution because I don't think I should approve funding that could potentially go to the organization that I'm an executive director of. So I'm just going to sit this one out. Although, do you need my vote to approve, or do we have quorum without me?
We have quorum. Yep, we're fine, Mark. And thanks for doing that.
Okay, I'm just gonna mute myself. I'll leave my camera on, but I won't have any input into this whatsoever as far as voting. Does that sound that's okay from a procedural point of view?
Yes, and just to confirm, I'm assuming that you did not fill in the spreadsheets that Miss Fortune sent us, and
That's
she's
correct.
not on.
It was sent to me and she immediately said, actually, don't fill it in. And I replied and I said, don't worry. I'm going to stay out of this one for obvious reasons. This is year 4 now. So it's
Right.
always been this way. And yeah, I had no input whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Miss Fortune.
Thank you. As I said, you have the recommendation, which is in green on the screen. And as you're aware, the District of Ucluelet provides grants and aids to assist community groups, not-for-profit societies, and organizations with specific projects. Council also provides in-kind contributions towards rental and lease of facilities owned and operated by the district. Applicants were invited to present the request at the Committee of the Whole meeting on February 3rd, as you all were there. Council members individually considered all the requests and provided staff with individual allocations of the available funds. These allocations were combined and then averaged to provide the total recommendation allocation as presented in Appendix A, which is what's on the screen. Is there any questions?
And is Appendix B the in-kind?
That's correct.
Okay, so, and we're doing them together or separate?
Mr. Chow?
As the current wording, it will be approved together.
Together, okay. Any questions? Councillor Hoare?
Not a question, just a comment. I like that we're getting a little bit more money into the grants and aid. We have a lot of very, very active not-for-profit groups in this town, and I like to see more money available for them to do some of their amazing projects. So
Agreed. And it looks like the amount of grants and aid was a total of 43,500, which is 1,750 more than last year.
Correct.
That's great, and really nice to see some new societies with some new projects. That was really, really good to see. Councillor Anderson?
No, I
Oh.
was just going to agree with you there, but
Okay.
I'd also say a big thank you to Miss Fortune, because I know we can be kind of like herding cats when you need these back, and I know I think you had asked me a couple times, so I apologize for that. But on top of all the things that you do, I know this one's was one of those things that you probably had to nag us a couple times to get it done. So sorry for that. Do you want me to move this one? Like,
You can, sure.
unless Mark has a. Oh no, he can't.
He can't.
He's recused.
He's,
That's right.
yeah, he's recused.
Or muted. I will move the council approve the 2026 grants in aid and in-kind contributions as outlined in Appendix A, Schedule of Council Grants in Aid Recommendations 2026, attached to staff report number 26-13.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
The only thing I'm going to comment on is anybody out there who's got some space for the men's shed, let us know.
The men's shed and the daycare, I think
And yes, and the daycare could use more space too.
right.
Somebody out there's got to have some space.
Yeah, when they presented to us, we were wondering if chainsaws and babies were really a good combination.
Maybe
but
not together, but maybe the men's shed could help
help
so-
build something.
Yeah.
Any further comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. All right, the next report is titled Multipurpose Sports Facility, and it will also be presented by Abby Fortune, Director of Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you have some recommendations. One is to support the multipurpose sports facility concept in principle and direct staff to undertake public consultation in March. That council support in principle, the Frank Jones Memorial Park is the proposed site for the facility. And council support the integration of the dog park as a part of the proposed project. As you're aware, staff have been working to move forward with creating a much needed and talked about for years multipurpose sports facility, which will ultimately replace Seaplane Bay's Recreation Hall. Most recently, a multipurpose sport facility was identified as an essential amenity in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan open house, as well as the recent budget open house. Staff have been looking at multipurpose sports facilities to address the many recreational and sports needs of the community. Frank Jones Memorial Park is a suitably shaped and has enough room to house both a multipurpose sports facility and an off-leash dog park. A dog owner shelter with benches and perimeter fencing for the dog park would and always has been a part of the project. The proposed multi-sports facility envisioned would be able to host the following activities meeting the recreational needs of hundreds of people. 2 full-size basketball courts, 2 tennis courts, 6 pickleball courts, 2 futsal courts, which is indoor soccer, 2 ball hockey courts, roller skating, skateboarding, indoor dog training, indoor social and commercial events such as fairs and farmers market. In fact, this project would have a very positive overall effect on recreational amenities in Ucluelet. Clustering amenities helps to encourage a positive atmosphere and further use for all. I would like to introduce Doug Warnell, our sports architect, who we've been working with to walk you through the project. Doug?
I think you might be muted, Doug.
Okay, thank you. I was just saying that Abby stole my thunder there, but I'm essentially here for technical support to explain the project and answer any questions. So if we go over the first slide, which is just the 2 sites we're looked at. So what we have is the 2 sites were considered. So the site obviously needs to have a fair amount of flat land to keep the cost down, and also that'd be a centralized location. 2 sites were looked at, Tugwell and Seaplane. The reason Seaplane didn't work out for us is that no matter which way you twisted the building, you ended up having to take down the Seaplane Recreation Center, and that has to happen before we can even begin to start construction. So that use of that building would be gone for a couple of years before there would be a new facility. The other thing is that it infringed on other places on the park, the soccer field, the logger area. So it just, in a time situation for getting the project done, a lack of interfering with other activities and a lack of parking, the Seaplane base didn't really come across as a good spot to start. It had problems to begin with, and we would be sort of forcing that to fit that site. Tugwell was an easier fit in the sense that there's a critical mass of activities. Whenever you're trying to create new centers for activity, you want to have a number of activities so that the place begins to look busy, people feel safe, and they see other activities that they may want to participate in. So it was a good site for that. It also didn't, the dog park currently is just using an older ball diamond that's been taken out of service, which is all fenced, so it becomes handy. It's larger than your typical size. So we admit that we are cutting into the size of the current dog park, but a dog park averages from 0.1 to 1 acre. We're going to be at about a half an acre. So it's still an average size park, and we want to provide amenities for that. So it will be fenced. It will have a shelter and benches there. And the great thing is, while it's being built, even the dog park can continue activity, as well as all the other activities in the area. If we go to the next screen. So this is essentially what we're looking at. You can see that in the behind, you can see the shading of the ball diamond. So we've taken about half of the dog park away, but it's still a significant run. So, dogs are going to be able to run, sprint for 50 meters, which is a significant distance. And especially if they want to take their owners with them. And we want to provide parking in that area. It'll be a gravel parking lot, but it'll be sufficient for the use of this site. it doesn't interfere with the adjacent ball diamond or sports fields. The site initially, we want to do this in 2 phases because we have enough funding for the first phase. Essentially, it's like an oversized tennis court in the sense that it's a big asphalt pad that will have power, future power directed to it. And that facility will have essentially 2 courts, which, can, as we've talked about, can be 2 basketball courts or 4 3-on-3 courts, a couple of tennis courts, 6 pickleball, the way they can be spaced. All the netting and things like the basketball backstops, the tennis nets, and the pickleball nets are all portable. So they'll be sent, and we'll build a little chain link storage area for them. That way, this space becomes completely adaptable for, you could put a farmer's market in. It could become an emergency shelter. According to provincial standards, you could get 90 beds in there. It can become an area for social activities. So there's the space has been designed to be very adaptable, so that it's able to accommodate as many activities as possible. If we go to the next slide. So this is what we envision. It's basically a sprung structure. So a sprung structure is an actual company. It's an aluminum frame fabric skin building that can be insulated. And the reason we look to these is because they're extremely economical. If we were to try to build this as a brick and mortar type building or a steel structure, we'd be paying 3 to 5 times more to get the same amount of space and wouldn't have the same height in the ceiling. So sprung structures are very economical and perform just as well as any other building, and the skin is warranted for 25 years. So it's not like you're getting something that's like a temporary tent sort of thing. We wouldn't be air conditioning this building in the sense that it would be heated. We will have mechanical venting to keep it cool or just to keep air moving. But the idea, this isn't meant to be like a school gymnasium. It's meant to be a covered outdoor space, essentially, that can give you protection from wind and rain and will be reasonably the right temperature for the activities that are within. In other words, if you're playing tennis or ball hockey, you don't want it to be 20 to 22 inside. You want it down toward 18. There is enough room on the site for parking, again, gravel parkings to satisfy the needs of that facility. There's enough, including the dog park. And essentially, as I said, we'd like to do this in 2 phases because we can get this phase done this year. We can have this part completed, and then because there's funding available, and then we can look at funding for the following year. We have planned the outlays, the planning of this is such that we can saw cut out inside of the asphalt and install the foundation for the sprung structure. And when we're done, that still provides a asphalt pathway around the complete building. The fencing stays in place as well. And so we're not having to destroy or demolition anything that we've already built. So there's no loss of, waste of money in that sense. So hopefully with funding for next year, we can have this entire facility covered. So are there any questions that I can assist you with?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I guess another reason Seaplane Base wouldn't work, there's no sewage down that road, I believe.
Through
Well,
the
we
mayor, that
would
is
be doing
that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would have to be outhouses or something.
Through the mayor, with the Tugwell operations, we do have washrooms up at the Tugwell field that are flush washrooms, and that's where they would be used.
Great. And I know we've talked about Tugwell Field for years being the location for this sports facility.
That's correct.
I, for some reason, always thought it would be on the other side of the field, like over by the food bank. That was just where I envisioned it being. I don't know why, but is there a reason that maybe Doug can tell us? Did you look at the other side of Tugwell Field as a possibility?
So it's just the timing of when things or of that space would be available, plus just the pier is not large enough for the facility itself. Perhaps Abby can add a bit more to that, but those are the main two reasons.
Yes, certainly through the mayor. Primarily, it's the size. We've always sort of targeted Frank Jones as a potential site for a multi-purpose sports facility. There's just not the room on the other side, and we want to make sure that we keep some parking on the far side for Tugwell Fields. One of the things that I would strongly advocate is maintaining our Tugwell Fields as they are.
Without denting into them for any
Correct.
reason, right? And I guess the other reason not to have it at Seaplane Base, because that is in the tsunami zone,
That's a huge reason.
right?
And the other nice, if I may, through the mayor, the other nice thing, if we were able to do the second phase, then we do have an emergency shelter situation as well. That is one of the muster stations for Ucluelet. And so it ties in nicely that way. And it brings all the amenities into one place, which is something we've tried very hard to do over the years. And council's been fantastic with that. This is the perfect example with all the amenities that we have circling around this area. So that's what we're trying to create in that space.
Great, thank you. And it looks like it could hold a 90-bed emergency shelter.
That's
could
correct.
be converted.
That's correct.
Questions, comments from council?
Mayor, if I could just add to it too, I think Ms. Fortune's already mentioned it a bit, and Mr. Warnell also. So tonight we're really trying to introduce some of the work we've done on the design, and then if council wishes tonight to approve it in principle or some type of a draft approval, it would be going up for public engagement and user group engagement throughout March and a bit of April. So again, tonight was introducing it and seeing where council wants. This is something, again, the community's talked about for a number of years. Last year, council had a number of delegations in front of it. And I think the spring, council seemed quite eager to move forward. There were some grant opportunities at the time. Those didn't come to fruition. So, but I think this is an opportunity if council wants to move forward with phase 1 this year.
So the next stage would be public consultation.
That's correct, through the mayor. Yes.
Great. Any other comments, questions from council?
I have a few comments that I'll try to keep brief.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Yeah, so first off, number one, I want to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, we've received a tremendous amount of correspondence. I've had I'm in Antarctica. That's proved no barrier whatsoever to hearing lots of different opinions, which I'm very grateful for. And I just want to reiterate for all the people who I didn't have a chance to speak to directly that it's important to remember that this is the first step in a process. The next step is going to be a public hearing, and I think that that's going to be a good opportunity for a lot of people who have thoughts and feelings to make a contribution to that discussion. So I'm very much in favor of moving forward with that discussion, and I just want to disabuse anyone out there who misunderstood the timeline here and thinks that this is a vote in favor of one or the other or getting rid of the dog park or any of that. I just wanted to address the sort of the budget and the structure. I've argued time and again that we need to be fiscally responsible, that we should be careful about how we spend our money. We go through budget season, we raise taxes. There's this constant debate about how the district spends money. I do think that we need to learn from our successes in this community. And I think that the UCC is a great example of a community asset that is worth every penny. I'm a little bit apprehensive about what seems to be kind of like a bare budget structure, and I'm not saying that critically as
He, oh, you're freezing. I think it's because
Uh-oh.
you're in Antarctica.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now you're back.
Oh dear. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm a little bit worried about the lifespan of the
Oh. Can you speak to lifespan? I think Doug did speak
Sure.
to it.
Yeah, these structures, the structure itself is forever. The lifespan of the skin is warranted for 25 years, but that doesn't mean that it can't last, 30 or plus years. So when we look to build a building, we look for a 50-year life span. And but when we talk about a building, of course, that acknowledges that we will be replacing the roof at least twice in that lifespan and doing other kinds of maintenance. So yes, the skin would require replacement at some point after 25 years. And that's a cost that has to be put forward. But otherwise, there's nothing about this building that isn't permanent.
Thank you. And as far as budget goes, this is in the budget for this year for phase 1, correct?
And we do have grant funding.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments from council? Seeing none, there are 2 recommendations that should be read separately.
Through the mayor, there's actually 3.
No, there's 2. There's an and.
No, 2
As
and
part
then and that council support. The dog park is the third one.
The third one, but it's part of the second motion.
I'm happy to jump in with the first one if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, Councillor Mafty.
I'll move that council support the multi-purpose sports facility concept in principle and direct staff to undertake public consultation on the concept during the month of March 2026 and return with summary of community input, final concept, and detailed costing for consideration to move phase 1 forward in 2026.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion?
I'll just add that I think it's really important to know that this is just this pushes this forward so that the community can have input. We're not voting on anything to move forward. We just want to get the conversation started here. I think that's important to know.
Yeah. Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
I'll further move that council support in principle the Frank Jones Memorial Park as the proposed site for the facility, and that council support the integration of a dog park as part of the proposed project.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion?
I just want to very briefly make one point that in so much of the work that I've done with the res on shorebirds and shorebird disturbance and coexisting with wildlife and all of that, I think I've been one of the most tireless advocates for off-leash dog areas in our communities. I don't have a dog myself, but I understand that these areas are critical, not just for dogs, not just for dog owners, but for the well-being of the community and also for the well-being of wildlife in the community. One of my biggest pet peeves is people who run their dogs in inappropriate areas where they create unsafe conditions. And every time it's been rightly pointed out that appropriate venues for people to take their dogs are so limited. So I just want to assure anybody out there that I am 100% behind anything we can do to ensure that we continue to have safe, designated, off-leash dog run areas for all of those reasons. So that's very important to me, regardless of how, where, and when we move forward. We can't be getting rid of limited off-leash dog areas.
Thank you for making that point. Particularly now, the beaches are mainly closed because of the wolf activities. So it is great to have an area for people to have their dogs off leash. And we did receive quite a number of emails and letters today. And And I can assure everybody that they've all been read. So we take these things, we don't take these things lightly. And it's really important to get the public input, which is the next phase of this.
Absolutely. And through the mayor, I might add that we're looking at doing a public open house on March 24th. And so that will be at the UCC. So we'll have that all set up, and that's public consultation for everyone. And that's from there, we'll get further information back to council.
In addition, Mr. Warnell will be at that open house, so he'll
Okay.
be there.
And just to be clear, it's not a public hearing. It's just public input.
That's correct. And that, thank you for that clarification.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Councillor Anderson?
Oh, I was just going to thank Abby for your work on this, and yeah, I think it's there. I know that there's some people passionate about it, so we love those emails. Well, maybe we don't love them, but we like those emails. It's an important part of the process, so keep them coming. And then it's great when that comes to council, because we get a chance to really digest this stuff and know where people are at. But I also wanted to tip my hat to I think one of the originators of this whole idea, and I don't know if he was, this goes back to Jeff Lyons, who was a CAO and on council as well. And I know this was a big thing with him back in the day, and he kind of got this ball rolling. So I just wanted to do a nod to him, because I think this has been a long time coming. So, but thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll just say Jeff's got a new hip, so maybe he's going to take up pickleball.
You never know. All right. I think I think we still need to vote, do we not?
I got lost there, yeah.
Yeah, I think we still need to vote. So seeing no further discussion, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. If anyone was here specifically for that item, you're welcome to leave. Not that there's much left on the agenda, but so I'll just ask if there are any notices of motion. Nope. There are two correspondence items on the agenda. The first one is Canadian Cancer Society regarding a call for volunteers. This one I wanted to get on the agenda because it's, we used to have Wheels for Wellness. Now this is Wheels of Hope. Same sort of principle. They're looking for volunteer drivers to help cancer patients in our community get to their medical appointments. So if anyone is interested, you can visit volunteercancer.ca or email volunteer@cancer.ca. So hoping they get some volunteers for that.
Me too. I have a few friends who work with Wheels of Hope in the city, and it's a great program.
That's good that that there are such programs. And the second correspondence item is BC Epilepsy Society regarding Purple Day landmark letter. So this is where they will, or we will light up our junction sign in purple. And March 26th is in honor of Purple Day, an annual event that raises awareness about epilepsy and epilepsy-related issues worldwide.
Do we need a motion for that?
I think this is something that we just do every year. Is that not correct, Mr. Harding?
Mr. Chow just indicated it was
Mr.
not
Chow?
a necessary thing.
No motion is necessary. I think we did sort of a universal motion just saying we would do it annually. Okay,
I was
perfect.
just making sure.
Thank you. Okay, mayor's announcements and council committee reports. Councillor Anderson.
What did we do? We did, was it last Wednesday, the 11th? We had grants and aid. That's when we need to have we needed to have it done by, and I didn't have it done by then. I don't know why I brought that up. Later on,
Forgot?
I know, I shouldn't even have said that. I had a meeting with Dallas Gislason from South Island Prosperity Partners. So just talking about some ECDEV stuff that we could be doing here. They gave us some good tips on what we can do to get some new economic diversity in town with some of the things that are happening, especially blue economy. The executive director of that is and I can't think of his name. Stone. What's it?
Aaron.
Aaron Stone. That's right. Who's the mayor of Ladysmith? Is that right?
No.
Duncan?
Courtney?
Ladysmith. Yeah.
Ladysmith? Oh, it is Ladysmith.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so a great organization, and Coast is a subsidiary of them. And then the next day, I had a meeting with Cheryl McClay. Oh no, sorry, that was the next week. On the Friday, I had a meeting with the new CAO with the Ucluelet First Nation, Mr. Sunny Dollywall. Again, talking about some economic development possibilities that we can do in collaboration. That was a great phone call. He's going to be an excellent person just to know here, like for the relationship, and just in general, he's a really neat guy to talk to. On the 18th of February, I had the Alberta Clayoquot Health Network meeting, and there was probably about 30 people on that call from Vancouver Island Health, Vancouver Island Health Authority, Tofino Hospital, ACRD staff, quite a number of people in there. And one of the things that came up during that meeting was the idea that the care beds are being closed for seniors up in Tofino, and then here we had our care facility shut down. We lost those demoted. Yeah. So that was a topic during that meeting. So reached out to our provincial seniors advocate, Dan Levitt. So he got back, and I guess he's going to come and present to that, and we can see what we can do and get creative to be able to have that amenity back in town and regionally up in Tofino as well. Later on that day, I had a meeting with Josie Osborne's team, again, just talking about ECDEV, things that we can do here, and see if we can get some money in town and get things happening. Keep the community. And that's it for me.
Great. Thank you. Councillor Mafty, anything from you?
Not much for me. I'm afraid to report. Talked to a lot of dog owners, dog park users, but no formal meetings during my absence.
And you will be back next week, is that correct?
I absolutely will be, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Well, we look forward to having you back as well in person. Councillor Hoare?
Well, firstly, I'll apologize for missing a couple of council meetings. I'm back. My vision is not yet, but it's getting there. My big meeting was on Saturday. I was at the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board meeting, and the AGM is always lots of good stuff. And they are doing some rebranding. So their new rebranding thing is Burl Lights the Way. I'm kind of loving their little image, which is a lighthouse. And at the meeting, they had a little lit lighthouse, and the interim ED was saying that it had been 3D printed at the library. And so I got questioning about 3D printing. So I always have something new to learn about the library, and they do 3D printing. If you want something 3D printed, provided, you're not trying to 3D print something you shouldn't be, you can create the file. They have a whole system, and you send the file to them, and you tell them where you want the item sent, and it will come like a book would if you requested a book. And you're charged per gram of the material. And yeah, it was just, I had no idea you could 3D print through the library. So that was one of my little takeaway facts. The other thing they do is book printing. So if you are some of the schools take part in that, or if you want to do a small print run of something, maybe you write short stories or poems or whatever it is, you can also do that through the library. what else did I bring? I brought bookmarks. I'm sharing because I believe, I am the person who's always carrying around print. So these bookmarks are actually for the Teen Summer Challenge that they do every year. And this coming year so the QR code not active yet. It will be active in about 2 weeks. This year's Teen Summer Challenge is the Sea of Monsters. So I'm looking forward to what kinds of books they put on their teen summer list. I brought a little tattoo for Councillor Anderson, who has a kid of about the right age for a temporary tattoo.
Who's gonna wear it?
Well, you could use it, but I thought maybe Wyatt was of an age for an orca tattoo. The other thing that's happening, and it's happening here in Ucluelet, is on Saturday there's actually a premiere of a video happening in the main hall at 7:00. So the press release is join the Barrier Cult and Vancouver Island Regional Library, Skull Skates, and Long Beach Surf Shop for the world video premiere of Horde 3 in Ucluelet. So I watched the little the trailer with their events guy. And so it is about a group, the Barrier Cult, that only skate barriers, concrete barriers around, and they believe the skating is more important than who they are. Like, it's not that, Joe Smith is the best skater. They give themselves crazy names. They wear balaclavas and they skate concrete barriers. And the little trailer was fascinating. Anyway, so Saturday night, 7:00, it's free. It is a PG-13 video, but free admission. Come check it out.
Barriers to entry.
No barriers to entry. I knew you were going to go there. If there isn't a dad joke happening, I don't know. Anyway, so some really interesting things going on with the library. It's not just books. Don't forget that. Just saying.
All right, thank you. My meetings, February 11th in the morning, I had a Barclay Community Forest Corporation board meeting. And they, just looking for anything interesting. Oh, their management plan has been accepted by the Ministry of Forestry. So that was kind of something they've been waiting for the rubber stamp on. So that's great. They're basically not they're not doing any logging for a couple of years in the community forest. But they had to produce a management plan for silviculture and how to protect the murrelets and species like that. And then that afternoon was the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board meeting. The next day, February 12th, was the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Committee of the Whole meeting, which was a budget meeting because we're in the budget process with them as well. And then on February 18th was the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District West Coast Committee meeting in the morning. And one of the topics was the bus stop in Millstream. Because initially, a couple of months ago, there was a petition going around from some Millstream residents that said they did not want the bus in Millstream. That was about, I think there was like 10 signatures on that. And then subsequently, just recently, there was a petition that somebody else got 70 signatures on saying that they do want the bus going into Millstream. So the upshot of that is that the bus will continue to go into Millstream. They've cut back on the number of times a day it goes in. Millstream, if you're not familiar with it, it's there's no sidewalks, there's no playgrounds. The kids play on the streets. So the buses going at too fast a speed apparently was a safety concern for some of the original people that signed that petition. But the other side of, the convenience of having a bus go into Millstream is far outweighs that. So they've just cut back on the number of times they go in and have told the bus drivers to please slow down. And then I went from there straight to a Tourism Ucluelet board meeting. And the board approved moving forward with a company to redo the Tourism Ucluelet website. So that was it was kind of between two contenders, and they did pick one called Forge and Smith. So that that will be moving forward. The chair's term was extended by an additional term in accordance with the bylaws. So that's Julie Sa is the chair of that Tourism Ucluelet board. And we reviewed the early intake applications for Events and Experiences Fund as well. So that was funding for projects like the Whale Festival and things like that bring tourism into the community. And a couple of the board members and the ED went to a conference called Impact, and they shared their insights from the sessions that they attended there. And just as a little side note, Flynn Saunderson has done his thesis on resort municipalities, and I'll share that with all of you, including staff, if you're interested. And that was brought to our attention. Well, it was in the CBT actual annual report, but aside from that, one of the resort municipalities planners shared it with all of the rest of us resort municipalities. And so that was his thesis on how tourism affects resort municipalities. So I'll share that with you. And that evening, still on the 18th, was the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce AGM at Blackrock from 5 till 8. And unfortunately, that board of 8 are not stepping up to continue on the board, and there were no nominations from the floor. So they are holding, somewhere I have in here, a special general meeting on Friday, March the 6th at 5:30, 6 o'clock here at Blackrock. And members of the Chamber of Commerce are welcome to attend, and they will be discussing the future of, here it is. They will be discussing the future of the Chamber of Commerce and what options they can explore. So anybody that owns a business might want to attend March the 6th at 5:30 it starts, or the meeting starts at 6. 5:36, okay. Yeah. And then last night was the zoning bylaw refresh open house from 3 to 7. And I didn't attend, but Mr. Harding, you said that it was a good turnout last night.
It was, Mayor, and actually I asked Mr. Brown to just do a summary of that process, because it's been very a lot of people have been part of it, and some good things to report on.
Yeah, no, last night was great. It was great energy in the room. We had I think about 100 people, or just over 100 people come through.
Wow.
People had great questions, great comments. The vibe of the room was very constructive. So really hats off to Urban Systems for helping that. Brendan, our new employee, was like a rock star, greeting people at the front door. So that was really great to see, and he was perfect for that role. And just like big thank you to the community members that came out that really provide some constructive feedback. We'll obviously get a report to council here in the coming month, likely at the end of the month. And we've also had so far great community engagement with respect to the survey. So for a community this size, we're already over 200 responses, which is excellent. And again, I know the quick look at some of that has been very constructive and will help inform any recommendations coming forward. So it will take a little longer, I think, to compile the what we heard report. But it's a good problem to have, and we'll get that to you. And we're keeping the survey open until this Sunday. So after that, we kind of have to hit close so we can get the reporting back to you.
Great, thanks for that update. That's great that there was such a good response at the open house last night, as well as the survey. And there was a workshop this morning as well that was well attended.
Yeah, just more of a focus group with some individuals that we all zoning, whether we know it or not, does impact our daily lives. It's not something though people get usually terribly excited for, so that's why the engagement has been so great. But there's some folks in the community that obviously engage with the zoning bylaw more than others, and this was the first of one focus group, and we may do others depending on how the feedback we receive through the engagement, and if there's some other areas we should hone in on.
Great, thank you for the update. All right, we are now moving on to question period. This is an opportunity for the public to ask questions and comment on matters within council's jurisdiction. Representations about bylaws that council is prohibited from holding a public hearing on, or bylaws that were subject to a public hearing, are not permitted at this time. Are there any audience members that wish to address council? Could you come over to the podium, please? And then just Mr. Harding, can you tell if that mic's on? There, okay, and just your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Brandon Manzardo. I live at 386 Pacific Crescent. So I'm representing the vast amount of residents who signed a petition to oppose the conversion or reduction of the dog park into a hard sports facility. I understand today is the first reading. I'm not blind to that matter, so I just want to make sure you're aware of that. I want to begin clearly and respectfully. We are not opposed to a hard sports facility. Recreation infrastructure is important, and expanding opportunities for sport is good for a growing community. What we are asking is that the expansion not come at the cost of removing or reducing an already thriving, heavily used community asset. The dog park is not vacant land. It is not underutilized. It is used daily and not casually, but consistently. Dozens of residents rely on it year-round. It supports seniors, families, shift workers, residents with mobility limitations, and people whose dogs cannot safely exercise elsewhere. For many, it is not simply recreational. It is essential to daily life. It supports physical health. It supports mental health. It supports social connection. It reduces conflict elsewhere in the community by providing a designated controlled space. I understand the district may point to growing interest in court sports and the desire to respond to that demand, but growth in one recreational area is a positive sign, but growth should lead to addition, but not displacement. When demand is real and sustained, it should justify identifying new space, not removing something that already works. There may be an argument that a hard sports facility would serve multiple user groups, and that may be true. But so does the dog park. It serves a wide cross-section of the community, including people who may not participate in structured sports at all. There is also the issue of sound. Racket sports such as pickleball and tennis can reach sound levels approaching 85 decibels during play. That may be tolerable for players, but it is significant for animals. Many dogs are sensitive to repetitive sharp sounds. And for reactive or anxious dogs, which are often the very dogs who need controlled off-leash environments, this level of noise will cause stress, agitation, and behavioral issues. Not to mention the construction noise that's expected over 2 years. A distressed dog park defeats the purpose of having one altogether. Funding may also be a part of the conversation, and hard sports facilities can sometimes access grant funding like we have, which is great. Dog parks typically cannot, but funding eligibility should not dictate land use decisions. If we allow grant availability to drive planning choices, we risk prioritizing what is fundable over what is needed. The absence of grant dollars does not make a community space less valuable. There may be a belief that the dog park can simply be relocated. Relocation is not neutral. Accessibility matters. Proximity to residential areas matters. The current space is established and known. Relocation is reduction and prioritizes one group's enjoyment over another solely based on what is trending. We also have to consider the broader context, like Councilmember Mafti had mentioned. There are increasingly fewer safe, legal places for dogs to exercise. Beaches close seasonally due to shorebird migration. Wolf and wildlife activity recently especially creates safety concerns in other areas. As those options narrow, designated spaces become more critical. Reducing it is not an option. My dog can run 50 meters in 3 seconds, so it feels like a pittance to have a place that small. When structured recreation replaces informal recreation, it can unintentionally create inequity. Organized sport often benefits those with the time, physical ability, and financial resources to participate. The dog park benefits people across ages, incomes, and abilities. It is no barrier. It is free. This is not a debate whether sports are important. They absolutely are. I'm an advocate for that. It is about whether we are expanding recreation thoughtfully or shifting space from one group to another because one proposal appears more visible, more modern, or more fundable. It is about protecting community assets that already succeed. We have 689 people who have signed a petition online. I know those carry very little weight, but it does give a snapshot of how much interest there is in this. These are engaged residents asking for balanced planning. If alternatives exist, and there are options within Ucluelet, those should be prioritized. Expanding recreation without dismantling something that already serves residents daily is possible. Communities grow strongest when they add amenities without subtracting stability and the usable space of other amenities. Please protect this space as it's already working. Please pursue new facilities in a way that brings people together rather than dividing existing users. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. Are there any other audience members that wish to speak? Yeah. Just your name and address.
Hi. My name is Shara Demino. Can I raise this a little? I also may be short of breath, but it's just a medical condition. So don't be, I'll be fine. If you don't know me and my husband, Martin Demino, he's an avid pickleball player, as well as the other racket sports and soccer and all of that. I feel like he does volleyball and all of those, and he's been enjoying them very much and will continue to do so. I'm an avid user of the dog park for a lot of the reasons that Brandon mentioned. I am a disabled member of the community, which I don't believe we have like a huge representation of, especially people my age. Our community really does tend to prioritize recreation, which is logical to an extent, right? We're a surfing town and all of that. But as he mentioned, first of all, I appreciate to see that we are taking the input of the community seriously in regards to the impact on the dog park. I guess, can I ask you questions? Okay. My first question would be, with this plan, would the new location be constructed before the destruction of the current dog park so that accessibility would remain?
I believe the architect said that it would not be demolished. The dog park would stay in use, correct, Ms. Fortune?
Through the mayor, if
Yes.
this was to take place, I
Hypothetically.
just really clear on that. The new dog park would be put into play before the old one was ripped.
Can you speak into the mic, please?
Perfect.
Sorry, I thought it was. Sorry. There we go. There. If we were to go with this plan, which is we're still processing on that, the new dog park the fencing would be put in play before the old fencing came down.
Okay. What about the shelter and more important,
And the
seating?
shelter. And the
Okay,
shelter.
perfect.
Yeah.
More importantly, the seating, I feel like,
Fair enough.
so that people can access it that are not able to stand the whole time. Awesome. So I just have another couple of points that my husband and I just sort of jotted down upon reading the agenda and the appendix and all that. Please stop me if I've gone over time because I'm not very good at that, keeping time. I'd say the sort of first thing that jumped out to us upon reading was just like we have some background in city planning from Victoria and things like that. So we're just kind of concerned about safety. Under the Occupants Liability Act, it does indicate that mixed speed use does create foreseeable safety risks, especially in such a small space. And so I guess I was kind of wondering, have there been any independent risk assessments done? For example, if one doubles match of tennis is being played, then the entire space is being used, as far as I understand. That's what my husband said. He could be wrong, but he knows more about it than me. So just wondering about that. Would there be like a thorough safety risk assessment performed before any groundbreaking?
I don't think we're at that stage
Not
yet.
Mayor, but I will say that Mr. Warnell is a recognized North American sports architect that's done many of these. So he's quite familiar with these type of facilities, and actually I've built a few of them myself. So
Awesome.
we'll make sure that those types of things are addressed.
Considered awesome. Thank you. Then something, I don't know. I just think this is really important to consider. I personally believe there is health and economic harm that would come to the residents that live right around that area. For example, people with health issues that can be impacted by, I think it's actually considered, as you actually mentioned, high impact repetitive noise. Anecdotally, I have lovely neighbors that have sons, and they have a basketball hoop, and they're more than entitled to use it whenever they want. And I'm a chronic migraine sufferer, so I guess I just see that perspective. I don't actually know anyone who lives near the dog park, but yeah, I think that is important to consider, as well as the potential loss of income for people who have short-term rental units or even monthly rentals, right? Any of us who have B&Bs or anything like that know that, of course, if you have people come stay and there's a racket, like maybe construction or what have you, which again, there'd be probably 1 to 2 or plus, because we know how things go in general with that sort of thing, impact on them. I think that that's something really important to consider too. And then, of course, just, of course, I'm going to say this, but equal access to all. One thing I noted is we didn't see washrooms listed as part of the plan. So we just don't know how that would work for sanitization for the emergency shelter, and even for fairs, markets, and sports use, especially if kids are there, or really anyone. There can be people with, issues with that maybe people don't know about or whatever. So I think that's a really key point.
There are working washrooms there. I believe they're locked at the moment, but they are at Tugwell Field.
Oh, the Tugwell Field. So they would just open those.
They would just open them.
They're actually, through the mayor, they're up and running right now.
Oh.
And they are solar paneled. So if there was an emergency situation, which we lost power, they would be fine.
Okay, awesome. Speaking of emergencies, I just wanted to ask this. The Yuki Days, if I'm not mistaken, the Yuki Days grounds are in a tsunami zone, correct?
Yes.
So, considering that was mentioned in the document, considering the vast majority of the population of the town, congregates there, and unlike, hurricanes and things, tornadoes and such, tsunamis are not seasonal. They can occur at any point. So in July, it's perfectly, knock on wood, no, ever. But to me, it seems like it might be more, or perhaps a priority to consider ahead of this, moving that space somewhere that's out of a tsunami zone, which I don't know. I'm ignorant in this, but perhaps the Tugwell Fields, I might think, I don't know. You probably looked into it.
Our previous council did look into it.
Yeah.
And there was a resounding no from the general public that they did not want to move Yuki Days from the rec hall. You will remember that, Councillor Hoare. Yes. Yes. There was a definite resounding no.
Sorry for my ignorance of that. I haven't been updated on every single meeting and all of that. Unfortunately, just health stuff.
Yeah, Councillor Anderson didn't know either because he wasn't on council at the time.
I know our community can be very adamant about what they prefer or don't, and sometimes it may not make sense to everyone, but yeah. I think that was pretty much it. I guess, obviously, like, if this comes down the pipe, financial considerations, I suppose, like how much of the financial burden would fall on the taxpayers, how much to the sports clubs I think I heard recreational grants be mentioned, how much of that would be covered by those, sort of even like a ratio if they don't have exact hard numbers. One thing I just want to say, like when I worked at the district, I was involved as part of my duties to do the administration for Board of Variance. And I noticed on there that if, say, someone wanted to raise their fence by like 4 inches or something like that, they had to have exact specs. They had to follow through with it matching exactly. And in the document, it does mention, I can't remember the exact numbers, but the discrepancy of 20% of, initially it mentions the dog park space being, is it 0.5 or something of an acre? And then later it says 0.4. So things like that. I just want to make sure that all this is handled, that there's not a double standard as far as residents versus not, I don't want it to be versus, I think that everyone should be sort of have to go through the same due process. And then lastly, considering it rains, sorry, I gotta say it, considering it rains roughly 2/3 of the days a year here in Yuki, what would be the point in considering phase 1 if we don't know for sure that we have the finances for phase 2 confirmed? Thank you so much for your time. And again, thank you for taking seriously the petition for the dog park. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Shira. Does anyone else in the audience wish to address council?
If I may, through the mayor.
Yes.
I just would like to update a date. Sorry, my apologies. So the open discussion for the multi-surface sports complex will be March 25th, not 24th. So my apologies on that one. So it'll be the Wednesday, March 25th, and we'll do a lot of advertising out on that one.
Okay, so I have to update my notes. So it's March 25th, not the 24th.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Seeing no one else in the audience wishes to speak, are there any members of the public attending by Zoom or telephone that wish to address council?
No, Mayor.
And have we received any further emails to communityinput@ucluelet.ca during the meeting?
We have not, Mayor.
All right. So I will move that the February 24th, 2026 regular council meeting be closed to the public pursuant to the following sections of the community charter. 90(1)(a), personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality. 90(1)(c), labor relations or other employee relations. 90(1)(e), the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality. 90(1)(g), litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. And that's at 5:52.
I'll second that.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor?